But we're going to be watching this game, right? So, if you're unaware, I participated in the 2012 Birmingham Nationals, and I made it to the quarterfinals. So, I'm going to give you a quick run through of the team I'm on. So, I live in Devon, if you didn't know, which is in the southwest of England. A very, very pretty area. And so Birmingham was about 2.5 hours away. Now, the easiest way for me to get by public transport would be by train. And I could have gone to Exeter. I live in Exeter now. I didn't live in Exeter back then, but Exeter was still my nearest city. I could go to Exeter and I could go on the train direct from Exeter. However, one of my friends, we were 14 at the time. One of my friends said that he wasn't allowed to go because basically his parents were incredibly protective. So basically my mum had to go, which was a little bit annoying. But my mum literally just said, you know what, I'll take you and then I'll just leave you to it. So that's ended up what we're doing. And so she ended up driving us to Taunton, which you can look this up on Google Maps and stuff if you're really that fussed, which is in Somerset. And we got on the train that would have gone through Exeter regardless. So we got the train on to Taunton, which was about a 45-minute drive to Taunton from where we lived. So we hopped on. Taunton is actually very close to, I think, where Uncultured is from. I think Uncultured said he lived in Yeovil the other day. Taunton is very close to Yeovil. It's not very far away from it at all. So we got on the train at Taunton, and we were on the train. We're just sort of waiting, and I'm just sort of. But this is very early in the morning as well. We have to get there for. I think the juniors. Oh, sorry. I think the juniors and seniors started about midday. So, but I had to get there for like 10 for registration, and the masters were, I think, had started the day before and were finishing this morning. So we got there at about 9:30. Like I said, about 2.5 hour journey. So we probably left the house about 7. So off we go on this train. Like I said, my mum, I think, was just reading a book. Me, Callum, and John. Callum is the lax turn. You probably will never hear John on stream. I don't really talk to him a huge amount anymore. I see him every now and then, but it's very rare. Oh, Brian Gold, thank you very much for the follow, dude. But yeah, so I was sort of sat there. I didn't want to touch my DS because, yeah, there's Callum. There's his emotes. I didn't want to touch my DS because I was worried about it running out of charge. So I was just thinking, I was like, right, what do I just trying to keep myself focused, trying to keep myself calm. Because I've never done it before. Back then, these tournaments were free as well, which is super cool. So, I think we had to switch trains when we got to Birmingham, and then we eventually got to the NEC, and the train station was basically at the NEC. And my mum was like, go and have fun, kids. I'm going to go and head to Birmingham and just do some shopping. And we're like, cool. So we went to explore the NEC. Now, the NEC, if you've never been there, is like, I think it's connected to the LG Arena now. But you go there, and you've got like a few like food shops. It's like an airport almost. And you walk down this massive corridor, which the corridor height-wise must be 3-4 stories, but it's not. Sorry, it's like a giant warehouse. So you have these massive rooms. If you've ever been to the Excel in London, it's similar to that. Don't you have photos from the day? I've got photos somewhere. I don't know where they are though. I do have photos somewhere, but maybe I do have them somewhere. I didn't even think about that. I just have no idea where they are. Yeah, I'll dig them out another time. But because we did video stuff and we danced with a Pikachu, but I'll get to that. And like I said, I've got videos and stuff of that. I'll have to go through some SD cards and see if I can find it. But we get to the NEC, like I said, and it's this massive building. I believe we were room 13. The VGC tournament was. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was. You go into this room, and then so as you enter this almost like warehouse, on the left hand side you've got all these people queuing up for registration. A little bit further on you've got this fenced area, which is where people battle on the DSs. You had another area for TCG, and then the area on from that towards the far left hand corner, you had like a finals area with a stage with like TV set up so you could see the battles. So that took up like a third of the room, and then you had a middle area of the room which you could kind of just walk through, and there was just people talking, You had people like dressed up as the mascots, like Pikachu, and I think the black and white starters were there as well. And then on the right-hand side of the room, you had setups with like I think, was it Wii's back then? The Wii U wasn't out in 2012, was it? It must have been Nintendo Wii's. People were playing like Smash. People were playing like Pokemon games on the Wii. There was like a shop area, and then at the far back of the room was a canteen where you could buy some food. So we had a little look around, and I sort of went to sit in the queue because I had to go and register. Callum and John weren't participating, so I sat in the queue, and I was like, all right. And so we started talking to some people, and we're getting on fine. And this queue was insane long. I must have been waiting in the queue for a good hour for registration. And there were these big signs with like rules for the game, right? And it said, one of the things was, make sure you don't have offensive nicknames, because back then you were allowed to nickname your Pokemon for these tournaments, and likewise you can nickname your Pokemon on Wi-Fi. Now, I used an AMOONGUSS, and AMOONGUSS in this situation was nicknamed Shrooms. Now, I was a little bit of a teacher's pet at 14. I was like, I didn't really do my homework a huge amount, I'll be real, but I was worried that people would see that and it was like, oh my god, that could be like a drug reference. I might get caught. And so I was having to rush. I probably had about 10 minutes by the time I noticed this sign, and I was like, oh my god, I need to come up with some sort of weird nickname for AMOONGUSS. And I just thought, I was like, what the hell can I come up with? I didn't have a Dragonite on the team. Where's the other Pokemon? Oh, there it is. I was just sat there. I was like, what other Pokemon can I call it? What name? Now my AMOONGUSS was female. I decided to call it Jeff. Yeah. So, 14-year-old me coming up with imaginative nicknames. Now, back then you had to lock it into a battle box, which now you have 6 battle boxes, and it automatically just locks it in depending on what team you're using. So I would have to register my Pokemon into, if I bring up the, let me go to window capture, add, no, that's not what I wanted. That was not what I wanted. Right. So here's the bottom screen. I'd have to register my Pokemon into this battle box, right? And then you'd have to submit it, and it'd be locked in. You have to write out your team in this form. And thank you, Aussie. So, should we go on to the team then? Oh, why can you only see like half of it? That's weird. Oh, it must be because it's cropped. Hold on. Filters. Get rid of crop. There we go. So, this is the team. So, when I was 14 in 2012, I started playing Minecraft in 2011, which is where the nickname for Chandler came from. Julio was based off like the Julius Caesar and the Roman helmets. Chomper was based off the Land Before Time because it's a purple dragon dinosaur looking thing, and Chomper is the name of a purple T-Rex. I don't think it's actually spelled like that in Land Before Time, but I just thought that looked cooler back then. You know the story behind Jeff, and it was named Shrooms. Yes, it was named Shrooms. E.T. because Birmingham comes from space, and Spinnerwind because I couldn't think of a better nickname. So I didn't. I'm going to start with Hitmontop because I didn't bring Hitmontop to a battle once. It was a bulky variant, relaxed nature. We were discussing the attacker pack on the way. We were, I believe. Close combat, wide guard, fake out, and mock punch. Wide guard there for things like earthquake, rock slide, which was even more common with Land or Astarion. Intimidate's a super good ability. We had holding a leftovers for a little bit of bulk. So one of my trick rumors here was BEM. It worked super well with it worked super well with Garchomp because of Earthquake, and obviously Telepathy makes it immune. And BEM has a monstrous special attack, absolutely insane. I had Trick Room to obviously set the Trick Room, Recover to recover back some HP. Psychic, obviously, just a really nice stab move, and Shadow Ball was there to hit Cresselia. I had AMOONGUSS, which had Spore, Rage Powder, Sludge Bomb, and Giga Drain. Sludge Bomb, looking back on it, probably wasn't as necessary as what I thought. Protect may have been a better option, or just another helpful move. Spore, obviously, a great sleep move. Rage Powder works like Follow Me with redirection, and back then it did affect grass types, which made it super good, and also didn't affect a Pokemon with Overcoat, I believe. Overcoat only blocked out weather damage, I think, back then. Can you guys hear the music alright? Because I know that the music is amazing for Gen 5, so I just hope you guys can hear the music. And you can, obviously, you can hear me over it. We had Garchomp, who was max speed, which is great for after Trick Room. Set up Swords Dance and Sweep. We'll get onto Dual Chop later. But essentially I ran Dual Chop because it broke substitutes and then did damage. Ended up being a horrible decision. It actually has the same power as Dragon Claw. But Dragon Claw obviously has 100% accurate. Horrible decision bringing Dual Chop. Like I said, we'll get to it. A Escavalier here, knockoff was for a Violite Pokemon. I don't believe it was as good as it was before. Sorry, I don't believe knockoff had its buff. I believe knockoff became a really good move in Generation 6. X's are great for Cresselia. Iron Head just a super good stab move, and Swarm is a great ability for Escavalier on low HP, especially if someone attacks me with a fire move. I live with the Ockerberry, and I hit back with a Swarm boosted X-Scissor. And then we have Chandelier, who is my last Trick Room Pokemon with Flash Fire, a good switching on to Fire Pokemon if I have a Escavalier out. With Trick Room, Heat Wave protecting Shadow Ball, and it's holding the Mental Herb, which means it is protected from Taunt. So, I go into my first game, and this is a little bit foggy, I'm not going to lie. But I believe my first game, my opponent was quite young. I reckon they were probably at the lower end of the senior age bracket. But yeah, so they had quite a strange team. They had things like Mandibuzz, which by all means is a good Pokemon. But back then it wasn't seen very often, and I think he tried to set Tailwind. But to be honest, I blitzed past him. That's all I can really remember from that game. I blitzed past him with a 4-0 win. In my second game, that was much closer. My opponent led with a Tyranitar, and I believe I led with Behem and Amoonguss, but I could not get the Trick Room off for the life of me because this T-Tart would just sit there and spam Rock Slide, and I was like, I can't attack. And I think it may have even been Scarfed, if I remember correctly. And I just couldn't get through it. It was just consistently flinching me, and I was like, this is getting ridiculous. Oh, also, back then, this was single elimination, so if you lose once, you're out. Done. It's not Swiss. It's not best of 3. You lose one game, you're done. Best of 1 single elimination. So, you couldn't make a mistake. You could not make a mistake. And you had to make top 4 to get a Worlds invite. So, yeah, so I sat there, I was like, what? Just stop flinching me, seriously. So I ended up having to put a little bit of a trick up my sleeve. I switched into Escavalier very early into the game, realized that my opponent had nothing really for it in that situation, and I just demolished the T-Tar. The T-Tar was a huge problem for me, and I just demolished it, I think, with an Iron Head. And it just went. And as soon as that happened, I was like, right, Behem back in, let's go for the Trick Room. And yeah, I swept. Destroyed him. So as soon as I set Trick Room off, I was fine, but the problem was getting the Trick Room up. We then come to the third battle, and once again, in this situation, I was able to set Trick Room up. I don't remember what Pokemon he had off the top of my head, but I was able to set Trick Room up, and I blitzed him again 4-0. I remember the results, I just don't remember the Pokemon. I believe it was this battle. Oh, was it this battle? Yeah, I think this battle was a good example as to where Garchomp was really good. I was able to set Trick Room. Once Trick Room goes down, Garchomp then becomes one of the fastest Pokemon in the metagame, right? So it comes in, you can set up a sub, because people don't expect to see a sub. It was very common for Prankster users like Sableye to be around in this metagame, and so you'd often get hit with things like Prankster Will-O-Wisps. if I could protect myself, or at some point just... Even if it's a slower Pokemon like Dusclops, like you mentioned, or a slower Pokemon like AMOONGUSS, if I could predict some sort of status move, and I could just set up a sub... was I running sub? Or was that might have been a team earlier. I wasn't running... Okay, if I could set up a Swords Dance then, not sub, I take it back. I thought I was running sub Swords Dance, I wasn't. Once you set up a Swords Dance, Garchomp just sweeps. It does so much damage. And the nice thing as well, Earthquake dodges ET with telepathy, ET dodged it with telepathy, and all my other Pokemon have Protect, so I can quite easily just spam Earth. Okay, bar Jeff, but Jeff takes an Earthquake. All right, it's pretty bulky. I'm pretty free to Earthquake. Oh, I can Max Guard with Spinner Win here if I chose to lead. If I chose to bring him on top. Hey, what up, ET? Because I couldn't get a Cresselia. Simple as that. I couldn't get a Cresselia. Cresselia is... Well, I mean, but back then you don't have things like mints. But ET worked brilliantly. I was really happy with how ET worked in this game. Often I would lead one of my Trick Roomers alongside AMOONGUSS. Often I would lead Trick Room a Trick Room user with AMOONGUSS, and then have a Scavalier sweep up in the back, because Scavalier hits so much. It just hits so much. And once Trick Room was up, I could do things like Spore Landorus, which Landorus was pretty mental in this in this generation. It was all over the place, but you get it with a Spore, and I've got Pokemon that can deal with it. Swords Dance also removed the effect of Intimidate, essentially, because you want to intimidate me, mate, I'll just smash you in the face with it. Well, I'll set up the Swords Dance and destroy you, basically. We then move on to the fourth game. So I win 3 in a row at this point. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I came here, I didn't expect to win one battle. I came here for the ride. I was just like, I'm not expecting to do particularly well. I think there were around 270 entrants into seniors this year, so there's a hell of a lot of us. And the way this worked was you win 4 games, you're in basically top 32, and then then some people would get given a bye, or some people would have to battle. You got given a card. They'd shuffle these cards, and if it said bye, you didn't have to battle that round. If you got battled, you have to battle that round. And then you get put into the quarterfinals. I think. No, you'd play one more game. But you'd play one more game before the cards, and then you'd play... Yeah, okay. So it would be these 4, one more game, then you get told if you're going to have a bye or not. If you have to battle, then you have to battle, and then it was the quarterfinals. So I hope everyone's enjoying this. I hope everyone's sort of in the sort of understanding where I'm going. So I then have my 4th game, which was a super interesting matchup, and we're gonna watch it together, which is gonna be good fun. My game's just crashed. Of course it is. Oh, my game's actually just crashed. What? My game is crashed. Oh dear. Okay, that's fine. Hacks, exactly. Hacks. Oh, God's sake. It's alright. Just boot up again. The game card was removed. No, it wasn't. Okay, that's obviously why it crashed. The DS thought the game card was removed. I'm sticking around because this is boring, makes sense. I don't understand what that means. You might be trying to call me boring. Or, I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say. Should I be offended by that, King Cubone? Come on, DS, sort it out. Here we go. Right. We're getting there. Okay, so let's hop into my round 4 match. I do have these cards as well, which allows you to keep track of your wins and stuff. I don't for the life of me know what I've done with them. I feel like they're in this chest of drawers to my right, but I feel like they're in here. I really do. I just don't know where they would be. Like, Because I'd really like to show you them. It's super, super cool. But I don't know. Maybe I'll dig them out another time. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they are. But, so I sat down and I was like, and every single time I'd win a game, I'd look over because my mum and Callum and John were like watching from like the side. They couldn't see my battles, which is a shame. But they were watching and were like, and every time I'd win, my mum would be like, "Did you win?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." My mum did come back from going off for a while to watch my battles after registration. Right, let's head back to the versus recorder then. And let's watch the one battle that I have access to. That's the dowsing machine. Right. So just to give you an idea, my opponent had some very, very strong Pokemon. And I was looking at it and I was like, when you look at my team with BHM and things like that, it's like, Matt, there's no way you're winning this. He had some very, very strong Pokemon. So I just wanted to set up Trick Room, as I always do. Right? I just want to set Trick Room as I always do. So I led a Trick Room setter with AMOONGUSS. Can I pause it? I can pause it. Okay. Please wait a minute. Wait, I can't just pause it. Okay, that's dumb. That's actually dumb. I'm just have to talk over it then. I thought I'd be able to pause it. No, I led Chandelure and AMOONGUSS because I knew I just wanted to set Trick Room. And I saw this T-Tart and I was like, you know what? You know what? You are threatening, but I'm... I thought that Chandelure would probably threaten the Cresselia, which is what I think I've thought here. Fortunately, he went for Protect on his Tyranitar. I'm not entirely sure why he did that. Maybe he predicted a Spore, but I go for a Rage Powder here, and then the funniest thing happens. Trick Room happens, right? So his Cresselia goes for Trick Room as I Trick Room, and that reversed the Trick Room. I'm like, okay, this isn't great for me. This is not great. So I was like, okay, so I'm probably going to expect a Rock Slide or a Crunch here into Chandelure. So I thought, right, let's get this Tyranitar to sleep, and then let's hammer down this Cresselia, because this Cresselia could be a problem for me. So Jeff is going to get some extra healing. And so he actually ends up going for a Helping Hand. So like I said, I'm like, right, let's just get this thing to sleep, yeah? Let's get this thing to sleep. I Protect with Chandelure to take the hit, because this is, I believe, was the only Trick Room set I bought to this battle. He goes for Crunch into my Chandelure, and I can put this thing to sleep. And I'm like, right, fantastic, amazing. He will be locked into sleep for at least one turn, and this gives me a good opportunity to set Trick Room if I want to. I know the Cresselia outspeeds my my Chandelure because he's taking more speed. He's taking Sandstorm damage first, and he set like Trick Room before I set Trick Room. And I was like, all right, this is going all right now. He protects, expecting a Shadow Ball, and I'm just like, bruh, nah, mate, nah, mate. I set Trick Room and Spore here. Yeah, so I finally get Trick Room up with Chandelure, which is great. But the Tyranitar is still really threatening if it wakes up. But the thing with Cresselia is it is insanely, insanely bulky. Right? So I need to get through this Cresselia. But I do have a Scavalier in the back. So I know that I can probably deal with Cresselia if that happens. But I know that I'm going to need Trick Room for the late game. So just in case Tyranitar wakes up here, I'm just going to Protect. There's no reason for me to rush this game. I'm in control here. I'm in complete control. I could have got damage off then, but I didn't need to. And I believe this is the point where I just decide, you know what? I can't risk Chandelure staying out too much longer. I believe I switch out here. I feel like I should switch out here. Knowing I've got a Scavalier in the back. If I don't switch out, Matt, this was a really bad play. So he actually wakes up and goes for a Helping Hand. And I don't switch out. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't switch out then. But Jeff does go for Giga Drain. I don't have to be scared about a weakness policy because weakness policy didn't exist in this game. So Giga Drain does very, very little. And I end up just going for... Okay, why did I just go into a Scavalier? Maybe I was scared of a Fire Blast. But Shadow Ball does a lot of damage to the Cresselia here, as Cresselia's Citrus Berry pops. I got very lucky with the Tyranitar sleep turns. We should say I did get very lucky with it, and I'm sure it was in the back of my mind that this thing is going to wake up at any moment, and it will one-shot my Chandler if I'm not careful here. He actually protects, just trying to start my Trick Room. I'm not quite sure why he didn't undo my Trick Room in the last turn, and why he went for Helping Hand. I thought that's a little bit strange. But I went for Rage Powder just to revert any attention from the Tyranitar away. But he ends up Rock Sliding, but fortunately for me, Chandler actually avoids the Rock Slide. And so we're not going to take the hefty amount of damage that we would have done otherwise. But obviously we don't get any we don't get any damage off on the Cresselia because my opponent correctly played and went for Protect. But Trick Room's turns are just falling more and more, and I have to be careful of that. And I'm just like, right, if I don't switch in my Escavalier at this point, I'm never going to be able to get it in under Trick Room conditions. I have to get rid of this T-Tar. I need to get rid of it soon. So he actually protects with Tyranitar, probably predicting a Spore, as I do go for it. As he ends up going for an Ice Beam into AMOONGUSS, which was a relatively common move for a Cresselia to run back then. But with a Escavalier in and Trick Room, I think Trick Room is up for one more turn. I think it's up for one more turn. No, we have no more Trick Room. But I do know that, you know, I've got a pretty good type advantage here. And I can lure away any fire moves from Tyranitar into Jeff. He ends up just crunching my AMOONGUSS, which I was like, alright, that kind of sucks. But fortunately enough, we do actually activate Effect Spore and get it paralyzed. So it's a shame to lose AMOONGUSS there, but it really did cause a lot of disruption from my opponent. And I managed to get a lot of damage off against the Cresselia, which is super, super nice. Ironhead, as you can see, did a lot of damage to the Tyranitar. And with it being paralyzed, I believe Escavalier now outspeeds it. Because if you don't know, paralysis back then didn't half speed, it quartered it. So in this situation, I can bring Chandelure back in. And I know that Escavalier is the biggest threat on the field to my opponent. So he actually is protected, probably anticipating an Ironhead or an X-Scissor into T-Tar, taking it out. But he would know that he doesn't want to lose his T-Tar. But I figured, you know, I could probably knock both Pokemon out here with a Heat Wave. Let's give it a go. Maybe Trick Room would have been the better option there, and just set up a Escavalier. But I'm sure I've got Garchomp in the back, and something I've got to be careful of is that I don't set up a situation where Garchomp is under Trick Room. So my opponent ends up bringing in Latios here, which under Trick Room conditions, I would be in an incredible spot. I'm a little bit confused as to why he goes Protect here, knowing that I can just finish off the Tyranitar. Obviously, X-Scissor would do a hell of a lot of damage to the Latios, and I do end up doing that, and he ends up just going for Rock Slide. But this game is very, it's very in the balance, right? Because one bad prediction from either side, and the game's over. The game is completely gone. We're currently 3 for 3 at the moment, and I've just got to make sure that I protect my team, essentially. I know that Escavalier's damage output is going to be ridiculous at the moment. So I know that if I can safely get Escavalier using moves, then I shouldn't have to worry in the endgame. And I'm just trying to get myself into a situation where Garchomp can sweep. And Latios outspeeds Garchomp and can hit me with a Dragon Pulse. Every time there is at least one Protect. I know. Both of us are playing super, super defensive. He is able to knock out my Chandler here and take a 3-2 lead there by going for the Dragon Pulse. But fortunately, he doesn't protect. But because of that, he doesn't protect. And I am able to get an X-Scissor off. And because he hadn't used Fire Blast yet, I'm relatively confident that he doesn't have it. As he fires off another Rock Slide into Escavalier. Like I said, Escavalier able to outspeed the Tyranitar, which means Trick Room was largely irrelevant at that point because it would have meant Tyranitar going first. And I do put it back for a 2 for 2. Metagross comes in now. Metagross does have access to Ice Punch, but I don't believe it got Ice Punch in this game because it got it through move shooters in Black and White too, and this is still in the Black and White. But I did just want to scout to see what kind of moves he had, so I went for Protect with Garchomp, as he actually ends up going for Bullet Punch, thinking he can knock out my Escavalier, but no, my Escavalier was too bulky, and I can quite easily take out the Tyranitar, putting me in a 2v1 situation that I really, really liked here. So I actually get a double Protect off. Back then it was 50%. And I was essentially trying to scout a Protect, right, from this Metagross. Because I want to Earthquake this thing. Right? I want to Earthquake him. But I know that if I Earthquake, and my Escavalier protects, and he protects, then it's a wasted Earthquake, right? Because it means that the next Earthquake, I'm then going to be hitting my Escavalier. So as we can see, he goes for an Earthquake himself. Now, the important thing here is that Earthquake is a spread move. So, oh, Millie wants to leave. Earthquake is a spread move, and doesn't reduce damage if I have 2 Pokemon on the field. And at the time, we had a counter, counting down the time, and I could see, right, I can either go for the kill here and knock out this Metagross, but the risk is, if he hits me with a Meteor Mash or something like that, and crits my Garchomp, there is a high chance I lose, because the way that works is it's done off the percentage. So all the HP is added up across the party, and it works out on the percentage of HP remaining. Although I think I win with 2 Pokemon, so that's probably why I went for Protect that turn. But I knew if I have 2 Pokemon out when the timer stops, I win. Alternatively, I get more damage onto him than he can do to my Garchomp. Another way that I win. So I had a few win conditions in that game. Essentially, I just had to play to them. Unfortunately, I was able to win. I think we were the last people to play in that round. It was... why did I have a Scavalier? Because it hit Cresselia hard. We played it extremely safely, yeah. That's the thing, right? Because there were... back then, the metagame was a lot more tactical. Today, you just set up with a Dynamax Pokemon and try and sweep. It was far, far more tactical back then. And that's why I liked it. I really enjoyed the Gen 5 metagame. But that was the Gen 4. Sorry, that was Gen 4. That was my game 4, and that pushed me into the sort of winning zone area, where you could sit basically and chat, and they would take your game cartridges, make sure that there weren't any. You couldn't affect the Pokemon on the cartridge while you went away. So they took it all, and with your DS, they didn't want you touching. They didn't want you going into your DS at all. And they essentially put them into like these little sandwich bags, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, this is just odd. But yeah, so anyway, we left to have a break. I came back, and they're like, right, you've got another battle. So I was like, cool. Now I have no recollection of this battle. All I know is I won. I don't know I can't remember what Pokemon was used. I don't know what the score was. I have absolutely no recollection of it. However, after winning that game, we then had to line up. There were 16 of us left? No. There must have been like 20 of us left or something like that. I like this gym because there are some fun new tactics like cotton down my armor. I mean, that is true. You won 10 games in a row? Nicely done, Donald. So we all had to line up, and we all got given these cards. Right? And on one side of the card it was blank. On the other side it either would say bye or it would say battle. I got a card and I was like, give me a bye, come on, I'm stressing out here, give me a bye. I turned it over and it said battle. And I believe in this particular game I led Chandelure and I believe I led Chandelure and AMOONGUSS from memory. And my opponent, my opponent's lead, right, he led with an Archeops. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, good God, this is going to be tough. This is going to be super, super tough. And I just thought, right, you must surely be targeting my Trick Room here. So I believe I went for a Rage Powder with AMOONGUSS. And he didn't take me out. And I was able to go for a Trick Room. And then I went for a Heat Wave. No, not Arceus. Archeops. Archeops, the Gen 5 fossil Pokemon, the flying one. And I managed to burn it before it could do any real damage to me. And you could not believe the relief on my face when I saw that thing burn, because I was like, your attack is dropped, and I can put you into Defeatus now. I think it's ARCHEOPS. I think there's a C, an H in there. I honestly, the relief when I realised that I could quite easily knock this into Defeatus with a second heat wave, and I was like... And after that moment, the game went pretty swimmingly. I just hammered down the other Pokemon on the other side of the field and never switched out his Archeops. The Archeops was doing, like, 25... There's some serious banging going on. I've got no idea what it is. I think it's next door. But I just essentially hammered the other side of the battlefield. And the Archeops eventually just... the Archeops eventually just fainted, didn't it? So... I then got put into my quarterfinal game, and I was like, oh my god, this is my first ever tournament. I'm using a BHM. If I win this, I can go to the World Championships. I was just like, this is insane. You could not believe the nerves on me, though. I was absolutely shaking. I wasn't thinking straight, and I was like... And his team... I'll tell you what we'll do. This is what we're going to do. If you give me a moment, I can bring his team up. Is that it? Okay, this might be it. Yeah, I think this was it. Okay. So, what are you doing? Why can't I go to... This is weird. Right. So, this was his team. Yeah, okay, this was it. So, wait, where is it? Why can't you see it? Oh, it's because it's behind stuff. Look. Okay, so he had a Jellicent, a Kingdra, a Ludicolo, a Thundurus, a Politoed, and Toxicroak. So a pretty obvious rain team, yeah? A pretty obvious rain team. This was not my battle with him, unfortunately. This was obviously the final. So this was on stage. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, so things that can go wrong for me here. Thundurus can taunt me and stop me from setting up Trick Room. Which is why I decided to leave with Chandelure against a rain team. As you can tell, not thinking straight. And like I said, this is not best of 3, this is best of 1. And what I should have done was just gone, looking back at it now, I personally would have led AMOONGUSS BHM. Because I can Rage Powder the taunt away, and I can set Trick Room. And then I can hit the grass types with Giga Drain. Or I can hit Ludicolo with a Sludge Bomb. So, looking back on it, that was my first down. My lead was a really poor choice. But I had the Mental Herb taunt thing in my head. Because if Chandelure had... if BHM had the Mental Herb, I would have picked it. But because it had the Focus Sash, that got in my head. And this is because this came into a lot of nerves. Sort of, really. That was my main issue. It was just the nerves. So knowing he would lead Politoed and something, I just thought, right, let's go. Chandelure, Batris. All right, Callum, I'll see you later. I decided I'll lead Chandelure, and it's just like, you know, I look back on it now, and I'm just like, why did I lead Chandelure against a rain team? That's such a bad... He's got 4 water types on this team. What am I doing? Anyway. Chandler, he leads with Jellicent and clicks Water Spout. And I realise he's Scarfed. And I just think to myself, right, that's Chandelier dead. Why did I lead with it? Stupid, stupid decision. But yeah. So I didn't get Trick Room up. I believe I have Amoonguss out here, and I must have tried putting him to sleep, or I went for Giga Drain. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but I then bring Garchomp in. And I thought, look, I probably had a Scavalier or something like that in the back. And I know that a Scavalier is really good on the defense. It's pretty good specially defensively, but it's not amazing specially defensively. So I just thought, I tell you what, I don't think I did bring Amoonguss. I don't think I did bring Amoonguss. I don't know what else, I can't remember. Essentially, though, I knew that I needed to shut down this. Without Trick Room, I needed to get rid of the Scarf Jellicent. Dual Chop would have one-shot it because it was Dragon Gem boosted, and it outsped the Scarf Jellicent at max because my Garchomp was max speed. But it missed. That allowed him to do about 60 to 70% against my Garchomp with a Water Spout, and he proceeded to knock out my Garchomp with a Hidden Power Ice from Thunderous. My Garchomp fainted. I was left with very little offensive pressure, and I was beaten. And there was no best of 3. Like I said, I can't remember exactly what he led with. He may have led Toxicroak for Fake Out. I can't 100% remember. So his lead might have been Fake Out on Water Spout. I remember it being a rating. I'm fairly certain he bought Politoed, Jellicent, Thunderous, and either Ludicolo or Kingdra. I don't think he bought Toxicroak, but yeah. So I don't actually think I lost because of the miss, but it certainly didn't help. And Hidden Power is not a strong attack, so there was a chance I would have lived it. And he did in fact win the whole tournament. Yes, he's called George Langford, and he was from California. Apparently, he goes to tournaments all over the world. He flies around with his mum. Goes to loads of them. So he was 2 years younger than me, so he was 12. I was 14. But he was vastly, vastly more experienced than me. His mum said that he'd been playing since he was about 8 and going to tournaments since he was 8 in the junior division. So I was, yeah. He was in that. So in that situation, while I was very nervous, he was composed as hell. Was the game winnable? The game was absolutely winnable, was he? I should not have led Chandelier. Leading Chandelier was a horrible decision. Horrible, horrible decision. Because it's not focus sashed, right? Sure, it can't be taunted, but he didn't need to taunt me. He could have just one-shot me in the rain with a water move. There was no reason at all for me to have done it. I tell you what must have happened. What must have happened is I must have gone Amoonguss Chandelier. I must have gone for Rage Powder and Water Spout, because it hits both opponents, probably knocked out my Chandelier there. And I probably put the Polito to sleep in the following turn, maybe. I'm not 100%, but that was roughly what happened. And essentially, yeah, he battered me. The game was absolutely winnable, but I just picked the wrong lead. If it was best of 3, I still had a chance. But, yeah. Should we watch this battle? Should we watch it together? I don't know if I want to play. I probably won't have audio. But we'll watch this together. Obviously, it's a very, very shaky camera because things weren't live streamed back then. But yeah, so you can see both opponents' screens. You can kind of see how a typical Gen 5 Rain team would have worked back then, with Thunderous and yeah, there they are. So George was the one on the cap, is who I lost to. Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. The backdrop and everything. It was super, super cool. See what I mean by that? It's like a giant warehouse that you can sort of see the background and it's all. But yeah, so I think the guy that George was against was Italian. So I found it really weird when I found people from other nationalities playing in the UK Nationals. Like, what are you doing here? But yeah, so George ended up leading Ludicolo. So he didn't actually lead rain, which is pretty interesting. Obviously, but it seems like both opponents there thought that each other was going to bring rain because they both had rain teams, which I think is really, really funny. In this scenario, I'd probably fake out the... I'd probably go for fake out on the Latios with my Ludicolo and go for a poison jab on the opposing Ludicolo. Yeah, that's exactly what... Oh no, George actually goes for a fake out onto the Ludicolo. Oh no, double fake. Why does he double fake out? I suppose free damage is free damage, but that's proper weird. That's proper strange. That's proper strange. Shall I make this a bit bigger? He went for that big double fake out, boys. That huge double fake out. Here we go. Look at that, bringing in Gastrodon. I'm not entirely sure. Gastrodon's a really interesting play there. I think it's a bit strange. Obviously, he predicted something. But oh, look at that! Oh, mate, I've been doing that in flipping 2020. Surf combined with Storm Drain. Yes, boy. Yes, boy. Obviously, it's going to do very little to George's team though, considering he's got dry skin and he's got and he quad resists it with Ludicolo. So, and most Ludicolo around this time would generally either... Was he Absorb Bulb? Mate, George. What a tech. What a tech. I love it. But, yeah, most Ludicolo... Assault Vest was back there. I think Assault Vest came into effect in Gen 5. I think most Ludicolo were Assault Vest around then. Or was it Gen 6? No, I'm sure it was Gen 5. Oh, the camera work's beautiful. The camera work is beautiful. You see what I mean? Like, both players that are really chill. I was so nervous in a quarterfinal match. It was insane. I was so ridiculously nervous. He ends up bringing in Thunderous. Okay, Thunderous is a great matchup here. Thunderous is unless he Ice Beams the top script, which is never going to happen. Thunderous is a great matchup. Actually brings in his own Latios here. And most Thunderous ran Pranks to Thunderwave with Swagger, which is a real problem for a lot of teams. Again, like the other games in the tournament, this was also single elimination. So one mistake and it could be game over. We'll have to distract your opponent. You could talk to your opponent, sure. You generally didn't, but you could talk to them. So he ends up Ice Beaming into the Ludicolo. It doesn't freeze. But if I'm in my opponent's situation, I'd probably go for Thunderwave here onto Latios. Gotta remember, Rain isn't up. And neither Pokemon, like, you can't Dynamax a Pokemon and just set the Rain. So unless maybe the Thunderous has like prankster Rain Dance. Yeah, the Rain ain't going up at the moment. So you actually see the hidden power. You generally want HP Ice here. I'm surprised he went for an HP Ice. Oh, it wasn't HP Ice. It was HP Flying. Oh, mate. Oh, mate. That's... All of a sudden, that's made my dual chop miss. Mate, get out the bloody way of the camera. That's made my dual chop miss just... Mate, if I knocked out that gelatin, there's no way an HP Flying is knocking out Garchomp in one hit. Not a chance. Not a chance. Oh, mate. Oh, no, I'm pissed. I'm pissed now. I thought an HP Ice would have done a hell of a lot of damage to Garchomp regardless, but HP Flying probably would have only done like 40%. 30-40% to Garchomp. Oh, no, I'm not happy now. I ain't happy now. Brings in the Gastrodon. Goes for another HP Flying. I mean, HP Flying isn't unheard of back then on Thunderous. It didn't get a good stab special flying move. That's the thing. So if you ran HP flying on it to help deal with things like Venusaur and Sun. Draco Meteor, he was Absorber, wasn't he? Not AV. If he's AV, he probably lives that. But he's not. So he doesn't live it. But, yeah, man. Gen 5 memories, though. Honestly, Gen 5 memories. You have to love it. See Maxim and George just chilling at the table. The judge just loves walking around the stage. I've got no idea why. He's just like... He just loves walking around. Here, like... the Toxicroak threatens the Latios quite a bit with Sucker Punch, so I think Latios probably just goes for Protect. And so a double target to Gastron is probably the right play. Latios does Protect, yeah. So, obviously expecting a Sucker Punch there. Which is fair enough. You absolutely are right to predict the Sucker Punch. But yeah, George correctly predicts that and goes for a fake out onto Gastron. A really, really good play. And does show the pranks to T-Wave. But obviously, the Latios can still get done by a Sucker Punch. If he's running, which most Toxicroak would run Sucker Punch. Just as a form of priority. There was no way of blocking priority in this game apart from using Quick Guard, which a lot of fighting types would run Quick Guard. Things like Rotom... not Rotom. Hitmontop, sorry. Quick Guard was also seen quite a bit again in Generation 6 to block Talonflame. So you'd often see Hitmontop go against Talonflame in VGC matchups just so it could Quick Guard because it knew that by Quick Guarding... Get out of the way, Photographer! By going for Quick Guard, you block Gale Wing completely and so it can't go for any flying moves against you. So Latios, they're predicting a priority move. Just switching out to Ludicolo. Which, to be fair, Ludicolo doesn't really want to be paralyzed either. And Maxime obviously just trying to get some better board position here as he brings in Kingdra. Both, funnily enough, neither person bought Rain. Which I think is hilarious. I think it's both people tried to take advantage of each other's Rain. So the title of this video is 2 Rain Teams Epic. It's 2 Rain Teams, but no one bought Rain. And I find that hilarious. I find it absolutely hilarious. Drain Punch does some solid damage. Toxicroak isn't that great, to be honest, offensively. It certainly has its place in the meta. It would be a lot better without, in this generation, without Dynamax for sure, because obviously, because one of Toxicroak's great things here is abusing Rain, and if you can change it to Sun, especially with that Sun team's running around at the moment, like, if you ran Rain right, you'd need to check for Sun teams. I suppose you'd have Goodra, wouldn't you, as your Sun team? You'd run Goodra as your way of beating Sun teams. What, Flamethrower, Muddy Water, probably Dragon Pulse and Thunderbolt. So Ludicolo, they're going for a fake out onto Thundurus. As a Sucker Punch, mate, there's no way Sucker Punch is knocking out Kingdra there. And he fires off a Draco Meteor. The gems, right, were so cool back then because they would essentially allow you to have a Choice Band or Choice Specs boost on one of your moves once in a game. So think of it a little bit like Z moves. Think of it like Z moves, but it wouldn't be like a move with an extra special effect that could run through Protect. It would just be like a one-use 50% boost thing. You still have access to normal gem in the games at the moment, but like things like Flying Gem Acrobatics were massive back then. Massive. Because what it would do is Acrobatics would activate the Flying Gem, and then Acrobatics would use its attack as if the item had been used, but it's still powered up by the Flying Gem, so you'd get a 50% boost to a full power Acrobatics. And the damage this thing would do, what would often run it? Generally, Genies would run it. Things like Tornadus would run Acrobatics. That's probably the most common user. You can see Pringles here. The funny thing about Pringles here is that the reason why... Pringles was a really common name for Jellicent back in the day, because the male Jellicent looks like the Pringles guy. Like, you know, like the mascot of Pringles on the face of the box? Spitting image. I'm not joking. Spitting image. The female one, not so much, you'd have to say. The female one, not so much. Man, it was such a cool meta game. It was such a cool meta game. Weather was very, 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 very dominant. Most teams would run weather. Generally either sun or rain. Excadrill was very threatening back then as well. Oh, you can see the people dressed up as the mascots back then. Yeah. There you go. There was a Pikachu one as well around. Snivy, Tapping, and Oshawott. Oh, mate, it was so cool. It was so cool. This isn't my video, like I said, so you can go and look up this video and watch it back yourself if you want. I do recommend just going back and watching old streams of battles. Oh, no, you need to see it. You need to see this. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, so coming to the end of that game now. Ice Beam going off in the Kingdra there. But yeah. You can see, you can see the battle timer as well. What I was talking about. So that's what happened in that game where I was timer where I went red and it was counting down and I was like, oh, do I play for the timer? Do I not? But oh man, it was super, super fun. Super fun back then. But yeah, there's no way Kingdra gets out of this mess. Not a -2 special attack. And yeah, George won. That's my that's my journey through Gen 5. It was super cool. It was super, super cool.